Hi, good morning grade 4s and welcome to today's lesson. We're going to be looking at how to punctuate direct speech, and our learning objective, as you can see if we bring our pen over there, is to use inverted commas to accurately punctuate direct speech. Okay, so we go on to our next one. Let's just recap very quickly what are inverted commas. Okay, so we call inverted commas also known as speech marks, all right? And just like the name suggests, they're used to show when someone is speaking, and we use this in our writing to make our writing a little bit more interesting and move the action on, right? And even though it doesn't actually look complicated, right, by following just these really simple rules that I'm going to give you, you can become an expert at punctuating your direct speech. All right, so I would suggest at this point that you get yourself a pencil, piece of paper, a whiteboard or a whiteboard pen, whatever you can get hold of over there, and you can pause this video anytime you like and have a go at it. Right, let's go. So the rules for punctuating direct speech, as I said, really simple rules, all right? So make sure you're listening really carefully now so that you have all of them down. First one is you need to place your speech marks or inverted commas around the words which are spoken, because that shows what's actually being said. The next rule is you need to use a capital letter at the start of a speech sentence, even if it is in the middle of another sentence. Now that rule might not make a lot of sense to you guys, but I'll show you some examples later on. The important thing to remember is that whenever a person starts to speak, that first word that they say, it needs to start with a capital letter. And finally, before you close your inverted commas, you must use a comma, a question mark, or an exclamation mark to separate what was said from the speaker. And again, I will show you some examples of what that means. But in everything that is said, you're either going to use a comma, a question mark, or an exclamation mark. And obviously, if it's something that the person is just saying, like a statement, right, it might be a comma, or if they're really shouting it out loud, it might be an exclamation mark. But if the thing that they're saying is a question, it's going to need a question mark. My last rule, and this is really important, that each time a new person speaks, you must start a new line. All right. So again, you can pause the video here and go through those rules just to get yourself ready there. And now we're going to look at some examples. Okay, so here's my first one over here. So we've got these two guys over here. All right. Stuart is saying, should we tell the humans we can speak English? All right. And his friend, Kevin, replies, no, definitely not. So let's just have a look at these two statements that they're saying over there. You'll notice that no is capitalized because it's the start of the speech sentence. You can see that's the first word he says is no, and so no gets a capital letter. Same over here with Stuart. The first word he speaks or says is should, so should gets a capital letter. All right. And then if you were paying attention to our rules, all right, the punctuation placed before closing the inverted commas is a question, as Stuart asked a question. So here, all right, with Kevin, he doesn't say these words here. These are just showing you that this is Kevin who's speaking. So we get a comma there. But here by Stuart, he's asking a question. Should we tell the humans we can speak English? So that needs a question mark. All right. So look at another example here. I'll race you there, said Isla. Okay, so immediately the first word that Isla says is I. So that gets a capital letter. She's shouting this out. She's exclaiming it. So it gets an exclamation mark. She's saying, I'll race you there. All right. And then if we look at what her friend replies, you'll win then, murmured Emery. You're much faster than I am. So the first word Emery says is you, so it gets a capital letter. When she's finished speaking, all right, and before she starts speaking again, it gets a comma over there and a comma over there. All right. So you're, in this case, because you notice there she says a second sentence there. Now you're going, Mr. Van Zouten, well, why doesn't that start with a capital letter? Well, that's not the first thing that Emery said. The first thing she said was you. Then she carries on speaking. And because she hasn't finished speaking yet, that second part there doesn't get a capital letter. And then over here, you'll notice that that exclamation mark there, all right, the said doesn't get a capital letter there, right, because even though it comes after this exclamation mark, which usually tells you it's the end of the sentence, all right, it doesn't get a capital letter. All right. Now, I know that's quite a few rules to try and sit and remember there, but let's try and see if we can practice it a little bit, and hopefully the more you practice it, the more you'll get the idea. Okay, so can you punctuate the speech in these sentences correctly? So what I want you to do is I want you to pause the video there, all right, and I want you to try and see if you can have a go at doing these ones. There's 3 different examples of here, so that each one are going to have to be punctuated differently, all right, and at different points, all right. So you take your pencil and your paper now. You have to go with these 3 ones, all right, and then I'll show you the answers and we'll talk through them. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video. Right, I'm going to assume that you've then paused the video now and you've got your answers now in front of you. All right, so let's look at this first one over here. What time are we going out? Asked Zoe. All right, so if we remember back to our rules, all right, the first thing we need to do is we need to put inverted commas or speech marks around the part that is being said. So what time are we going out? All right, well, if you read that sentence, you'll know that what time are we going out is what is being said. So that's going to get or our inverted commas or speech marks. All right. We should then also remember that after what is being said, right, is finished, we need to put a comma because this sentence is not finished yet. It still carries on with asked Zoe. All right. So let's have a look and see if how does your answer compare, and have you got all the right punctuation marks in, and are they in the right place? Okay. So you got your speech marks there around what is said. All right. Okay. I actually made a mistake there. I realize now that actually that is a question. What time are we going out? So that means it needs a question mark. All right. Not a comma in this case. All right. So what time are we going out? It's a question, so it needs a question mark. And really important, that question mark goes inside the speech marks. All right. And then last important thing here is this asked here doesn't get a capital letter there, even though there's a question mark there. All right. Yasmin shouted, "Look out." All right. So again, let's have a look what you wrote, and let's have a look what the answer is. So Yasmin shouted. Now, the sentence isn't finished yet, so we've got to now introduce what's going to be said by putting in that inverted comma. So we put the inverted comma. Then we take the words that she said, "look out," and we put them in some speech marks. So we put them there and we put them there. And because she's shouting, that tells us that we need an exclamation mark at the end of "look out," because this is how she said it. Look out! All right. And last one over here, this is quite a tricky one. Besides, said Sam thoughtfully, what was she doing there anyway? So here you've got 2 bits that Sam is saying, and it's split up between you being told how Sam said it. All right. So the first what he says is besides, and that goes with some speech marks around the word besides. You need a comma after besides. Then you have this bit here. This is actually called a verb clause because it's telling you how Sam said it. Said is a verb because he's talking. How did Sam say this? He said it thoughtfully. All right. And what was the rest of what he said? What was she doing there anyway? All right. So the whole thing that Sam says here is, besides, what was she doing there anyway? But now we also have this verb clause in the middle that's telling us that it's Sam talking. So to continue on with the sentence, because Sam already started talking there, we started that speech with a capital letter over there. And even though it continues over here, that what does not get a capital letter. But it does get some new speech marks to show you that this is still what Sam is saying. All right. So what was she doing there anyway? Sam is asking a question, so it gets a question mark. And then we need to close off our speech by closing off with our inverted commas. Okay, right. I hope this has given you a bit of a better idea of how to punctuate direct speech. All right. what you should go and do now is try and see if you can come up with your own speech, all right, and try and see if you can punctuate it yourself. All right. Easy way to do this is get someone to say something. All right. So, for example, go and get your brother or your sister or your parents to say something, and then put that in speech marks, and then at the end of that, say something, add a verb clause like my dad said, or said dad, or said my sister, or said mom. All right. Okay. I hope you found this useful. All right. I'll be posting some more videos on some language, and I hope you have a great day.